Hello, welcome back to Sipology blog. It's time for Whiskey Friday, as I'm sure you've guessed. So I'm here out of doors on my back deck in beautiful Royal Oak, Michigan. It's a bright sunny day, temperatures in the 60s. You may hear the hum of lawnmowers and the chirps of birds in the background as the whole ambiance. So today we have the Singleton of Glendullan, to be specific, which is the version of the Singleton released in the North American market. That's in the US and Canada, and I'm assuming Mexico as well, but I'm not sure. I've never tried to buy whiskey in Mexico. Sound off in the comments if you have any information on that. So, the Singleton is a single malt Scotch. It is from our good friends at Diageo, the world's largest spirits company. As my friend Chuck Cowdery calls it, the Big Galoot. This is a 12-year-old single malt. The Singleton was conceived as a kind of an entry-level, kind of gateway single malt. Diageo got kind of outflanked by some of its competitors. I'm speaking specifically of Glenfiddich and Glenmorangie and Glenlivet, especially Glenfiddich and Glenlivet, in the kind of in the arena of entry-level malts, especially Speyside malts. So the Singleton Singleton line was introduced in the zeros to compete with that. So there are 3 Singletons worldwide. There's the Singleton of Glendullan for North America, as I said, which is the one I'm reviewing today. There's also the Singleton of Glenord, which is the Singleton that's sold in Asia. And then there's the Singleton of Dufftown, which is the version sold in Europe. And they're all fairly similar, but slightly different, in an effort to cater to the tastes of those different markets. Let's see. Let me check my notes, see any more information. So, as I said, this is the Singleton made at Glendullan Distillery in Dufftown, in the Speyside region of Scotland. Banffshire Keith or something like that is the name of the sub prefecture or whatever it is. And it's 40% alcohol by volume. Michigan's state minimum price is $36 for a 750 milliliter bottle. See anything else? I think that's about it. Let me see here. Let's get to tasting. So, here's the bottle again. I don't usually review the labels or bottles, but I will say, kind of in keeping with their kind of philosophy of the Singleton as an entry-level single malt, they really did a great job of designing a really elegant, very pretty label. You see the little jumping fish up there. Makes you think of Scottish salmon, and it's just kind of a good-looking bottle, kind of classic in the design of the bottle and the label, but not stuffy or old-fashioned or dated. No, I think they've done a really good job with the marketing and packaging of the Singleton line. So, and Diageo is very good at that kind of stuff. Say what you will about them, some of the other things they do. So, here it is. This is in my Highland Park glass, in keeping with my tradition of having mix-matched glassware. So, on the nose, let's see. Oh, well, first let's look at the color. Let me pour some more so you can see it. I'm forced to pour myself more whiskey just for review purposes. Anyway, you can see that there. I would describe it as kind of a light copper. I think it's showing up a little dark in the video, but it's maybe dark, maybe light to medium copper. Sort of on the darker side of light, if that makes any sense at all. Go for the nose. It's got a surprising amount going on here in the nose. You get a lot of sweet malt. That's probably the dominant aroma. You get a little bit of leather, some nutmeg or Christmas spices or baking spices as they call it, and then also some vanilla. On the palate, it's my soon-to-be 4-year-old son going inside there. On the palate, I'm gonna say I get a little bit of melon, orange blossom honey, some butterscotch candy, and a little bit of bite on the back end. Not too much, but a little bit. Finish, I have to take another sip to judge the finish because I just, I wasn't focused on the finish. The finish is creamy, and just kind of the whole mouthfeel in general, the texture is on the creamy side. As it says on the label, light, fruity, and creamy. Yeah, creamy in the finish with a little bit of oak and alcohol. There is a tiny bit of oak here. It's not an oak monster by any means, but it's kind of well balanced. So yeah, I'd say overall this is this very much fits the profile of an accessible, sweet, light, single malt from Speyside. And I think that is a good way to jump into single malt Scotch. With products like this, or Glenfiddich 12, or the Glenlivet, which I don't like as much as the other two. I think those are good ways to jump into single malt, and you sort of start with exploring that, and then maybe move into Mortlach or Balvenie, kind of heavier Speysides, and then spread out into the Highlands and the Islands, and get into peat, and end up as an annoying peat hipster, which is where we all end up going eventually. So anyway, we'll check out its competition. I've already mentioned Glenfiddich 12 and Glenlivet 12, both of which have Michigan State minimum prices of $50. And there's also the Glenmorangie Original, which I think used to be a 12-year-old, but is now a no age statement. And that's $40. The Singleton of Glendullan sells for $36 in Michigan, so it's more affordable than either of those. Kind of closest to Glenmorangie in price. So out of these, I would say I really prefer the Singleton out of those. I like Glenfiddich too. Glenfiddich has a little bit too much apple in it, which is something I love in my Riesling, but not something I necessarily want in my single malt Scotch. But again, that's not to say Glenfiddich is bad. It's a fine single malt. So I'm going to recommend the Singleton. It's probably not something that's going to be super appealing to hardcore single malt nerds, but I think it's a great thing for maybe a 21st birthday gift, or like for someone who's just starting to get into to single malt Scotch. It's a good jumping off point and a good place to sort of familiarize yourself with the landscape before going off in all different sorts of directions and exploring. It's a good base camp, I think, for single malt Scotch. Like I said, I recommend this. It's available in pretty much every liquor store in North America. just because of Diageo and the sort of reach it has. So it shouldn't be tough to find at all, and it's going to be affordable anywhere. So let me show you the bottle one more time. There you go. Recommendation, and then I'll show you my shirt. Let's see if I can. There we go. It says Mew, as you can tell. It's another one of my favorite bands. They're an indie rock band from Denmark, and they've been at it for quite some time. They're not touring now, obviously, but they do tour and occasionally even make it to the middle of the United States, as they did a year or two ago when I went to see them in Detroit. They describe themselves as stadium indie rock. Their music is theatrical. They don't really use a lot of costumes or big hair or anything like that, but they do have a strong visual element to the shows with the videos that are shown at the same time and different effects and so on. So that's M-E-W, Mew, not Muse, which is a completely different band. So check them out if you can. Let's see, any more notes? No, I think I got it all. So I hope you've enjoyed this Whiskey Friday review, and I hope you and your family are staying healthy and sane. Excuse me. And here in Michigan, we probably only have 2 or 3 more weeks of this lockdown. Then hopefully we'll be over the hump and we can slowly start making our way out into the world again, beyond the wilds of Costco and Meijer. So, we will see you next time. Take care and peace, as always.